Hello, and welcome to Green Team of the Legendarium. We're a group of Legendarium podcast fans who come together to talk about books the main pod aren't covering. I am your host, BefuddledPanda, and I am joined today by Ashaman.
Hello.
The Soulution.
Hey, everyone.
And making his debut on the podcast, Starkast.
Hi.
Hello, welcome. Today's episode is all about graphic novels. While we love our epic fantasy series and large tomes, we also appreciate the more visual-heavy medium of books. We'll be mentioning some specific graphic novels, and we'll keep the discussion spoiler-free. If you're new to graphic novels, grab a pen because we'll be giving out recommendations on where to start. If you're a graphic novels connoisseur, let us know if you agree or disagree with our opinions, or if you have more recommendations to share. Come hit us up on Twitter at GreenTeamPod or on the Legendarium Discord. You can find the link at thelegendarium.com. All right, gang, let's go.
Before we get too started, Star, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself so the listeners know a bit about you?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Where do I start? I'm 18. I'm from Germany. I read books. I think that's clear. But also, as said, graphic novels. Graphic novels were my introduction to fantasy, even.
Ooh.
So, yeah, mangas, even to be more accurate. Yeah.
How did you find the Legendarium?
Oh God. Yeah. I just had to think about it. I searched for podcasts who talked about Sanderson. So, like most of the people who came here.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So, in order for us to really talk about graphic novels, let's just get one thing out of the way first. What is a graphic novel? Like, what do you consider as graphic novel? Manga? Any picture book? Are comics graphic novels? If not, what are the differences? And are there any particular vocabulary we'll be using that you think we should define? Ashaman, what do you think?
I think that a graphic novel is any book that is composed primarily of pictures in panels with text bubbles and the So I have a very broad view of them. Not quite picture books. I think picture books are distinct. But yeah, anything that fits the format I outlined, I am totally okay with counting as a graphic novel, comics included.
Nice. Okay. What about Soulution?
I'm right there with him. I think pretty much anything that's trying to use primarily pictures or artwork as a form of the storytelling, and then you still have, text to go along with it, but it's just the book is mostly art. That's what I consider a graphic novel.
Okay. Starcast?
I'm the same opinion, but I have a bit of a different way to say it. I would have said that a graphic novel is a work where the pictures, and by that I mean the panels and the written words, have to act together. So the graphic novel as a whole comes together. So both the pictures or the written words cannot be discarded, so to say. Like what I would say, I don't know. A lot of people know Neil Gaiman's picture book. He has written one, and there was, you can see that if the pictures weren't there, you could still read it and experience it the same way. But the pictures are basically there to make it look pretty. Or not a more telling example would be The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Has also pictures, but isn't a graphic novel.
That's, I think, a great point. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you just Google the definition of graphic novel, what you get is a novel in comic strip format.
Mm.
So that's pretty like generic. But if we look deeper, we find a richer definition. From the Buffalo Library's website, we get graphic novel is a format, not a genre. Graphic novels can be fiction, nonfiction, history, fantasy, anything in between. And they're similar to comic books because they use sequential art to tell a story. But then they go on to say, unlike comic books, graphic novels are generally standalone stories with more complex plots, which I actually don't agree with that letter definition.
Yeah.
I agree with your disagreement.
Yeah, I will also agree with your disagreement. Yeah.
Yeah, because there are so many graphic novel series, like Why the Last Man, The Walking Dead, Sweet Tooth. Like, those are just a few key examples. So I think their definition is outdated.
I would fight anyone who says that Sandman isn't a graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
Even though
Agreed.
like it came out in comic book format, it's like very much a cohesive story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I also say something to that?
Yeah.
Simon.
What I wanted to say to that is graphic novels, the word only exists because of publishing. Because there was one author, I think, who said, I don't want to have my work associated with comics. And so he put a graphic novel on his work. And because of that, the whole term
I see.
existed as it came into existence. And so for me, graphic novel is really how should I say a catch-all word.
Yeah. It's more of a marketing term.
Right.
Yeah. And what you were saying, Ash, about picture books, I agree. Like, picture books traditionally have meant like books for children, and that are visually heavy. And I don't see graphic novels being the same. Manga, I think, is like a very specific format of a kind of graphic novel. So I do lump them under that umbrella. It's just that, manga's open right to left instead of left to right because of the Japanese origin. Yeah.
Which always manages to trip me up when I read them. Because like I'm never quite sure as to like what bubble on the page to read on the panel to read first, even though it's still left to right. Like sometimes they swap it around and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite because I'd never read graphic novels. I started as a child with manga. That was my first interpretation. So I've always read left to right. So whenever I read anything that's American or not Japanese, I'd be like, wait a second, I have to read. Okay. And I gotta flip it around because I lose myself doing that one.
Funnily, I don't have that problem. I only started this year to really read graphic novels. But I think maybe the first one I had problems with it, but after that I could switch from the go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the bigger debate is usually between like comics and graphic novels. And my answer is comics can be graphic novels. I think the main difference is typically when you think of comics, they're shorter, right? They're released in issue format. But then when you collect a bunch of issues into a volume, then it's a graphic novel. And I think it's just the length is really what determines if you call it a comic or a graphic novel.
Yeah. I think the only possible distinction I would draw is for like specifically comic strips like Calvin and Hobbes or Peanuts. Well, first of all, Bill Watterson really didn't like the term graphic novels, and he pointed that out in one of his strips, and I read in the anniversary edition his like full opinion was essentially graphic novel is a term that people use so they can put boobs and violence and gore in
gosh.
and make it seem like high art. Which like I don't entirely disagree with him there, but yeah, I think it's there that the classification becomes more muddy because like obviously a strip cannot be a novel. And usually they are entirely standalone, although there sometimes are stories within.
Cool.
I also would have said that comics are often associated with superheroes. the
Yeah.
superhero comics. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I think we'll get into that a little bit. Actually, it segues well into the next question, which is, graphic novels often get a bad rep by like bookworms and book snobs. Like they think it's not real reading or not serious literature. And comic books, graphic novels are often seen as like books for children, which we know, like there are definitely very adult graphic novels and comics.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think graphic novels are important? And do you consider reading graphic novels as reading books? How about Soulution? Let's start with you.
I primarily don't read graphic novels unless it's manga or manga.
Mhm.
I usually just read my retention. I feel like I'm better with more words, even though I like the art. But then I get bogged down. So I think I came on here because I was like, oh, I'm interested. I want some recommendations. I want to see what you guys have to say because I'm probably not the standard person who would say, oh yes,
Hmm.
I avidly read graphic novels. I primarily don't, but I'm interested in learning more about it, and I'm curious about what you all have to say. I primarily don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Starkast? What do you think?
I think graphic novels are important. I think for the same reasons why fantasy books are important, because they can teach us things very easily. Why also the person has a good distance from it, and especially what how should I say this? Especially contemporary graphic novels, where
Mm.
you have often the problem with books. You don't really have a layer between you and the book. You can relate to it on a much more personal level for me, and sometimes that can be a problem. While graphic novels, the art can act as kind of a layer because you see the stylized art and have can better distinguish it in your mind.
Mm. Okay. Ash?
Yeah, I was definitely one of those people growing up that thought graphic novels, no, they're for babies and I hate them. I don't want to be a baby. A lot of it was because sometimes like my friends would approach me in like class and stuff and be like, "Oh, look at all these pictures," and I would ask them like, well, "Okay, what's the story about?" They don't care. I just look at the pictures.
I see.
So as a yeah, I didn't have a lot of respect for that growing up, although I appreciate it more now. In high school, I started appreciating visual mediums more. I learned how to parse people's expressions better. I was very bad at
Okay.
doing that as a kid. But when I started in university, that's when I really started getting into film and getting into graphic novels and stuff like that. My first graphic novel was Sandman, and like I can't imagine a better
Oh, wow.
introduction, really. Yeah, like I think there is a lot to recommend graphic novels. I'm really bad at understanding visual art. First of all, like I cannot analyze it well, but I think that visual arts are very good because they provide a layer of ambiguity that's difficult to achieve with just the written word alone. And I talk a lot about ambiguity in. I'm pretty sure I talk about it a lot in the Malazan podcast. I certainly talk about it a lot on the Discord. Like when you leave people room to slot their own interpretations in, that can often be very, very powerful. And graphic novels, especially when they have good illustrators, like they leave a lot of that room for interpretation, and that can make excellent stories. And in the case of things like Junji Ito, like absolutely horrifying comics as well.
Yeah, I agree with you and Starcast that the illustrations really do add another layer. Like graphic novels, I think they're important because they're another art form, and they require different skill sets than just normal novel writing. like you can't rely just on the words to tell the story. Back to what Starkast was saying before, like the words and the pictures really work together to convey a scene, an emotion. And the relationship between the story writer and the artist can be very magical. One particular duo that I'm thinking of is like Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, who created Saga. And it's amazing how good a story writer can convey so much in so few words. Like we talk about short story writing being difficult, but like try fitting that into just a few panels. And it's even more amazing when the artist understands what the story writer is trying to convey and adds their imagination to bring those words to life. And the emotions of the characters, like, when you're reading a graphic novel, you're not necessarily being told, oh, somebody said this in an angry tone. It's the artist illustrating the character's emotion to show you how the dialogue is being delivered. And graphic novels, I think they do provide a richer and a more immersive reading experience if the art gels with the reader. And we can talk about that too, like what you like in the art that you see in graphic novels. And they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So
yeah, like a small addendum. You never see in graphic novels the author just getting totally overboard with the descriptions of clothing. Like, for example, people complain about Robert Jordan doing that all the time. Like, someone enters a room and you immediately have to just break down what everyone is wearing over the next couple pages. No, graphic novel, you just draw that, and the person can look at it as much as they want.
You have a good point. Same with George Martin and food as well.
Yep.
There you go. Put a picture, something out of Food magazine, be great. That's it. You can move on.
Something else about graphic novels is I do think that they make certain texts more approachable and digestible. So graphic novel adaptations of books like Dune or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. And I actually read the Hobbit graphic novel first, and that really intrigued me into reading the original text. Maybe I should try that with Lord of the Rings.
Come to think of it, I actually read the Hobbit graphic novel first as well.
Oh,
Wait.
nice.
Yeah.
All right, so Panda, you have not read Lord of the Rings yet?
I've not read The Lord of the Rings.
Okay. All right, so then, I guess try it. Since you're in the unique situation where you could try the graphic novel first, I say go for it. I actually didn't really look into it, so I didn't know there was either a Hobbit or a Lord of the Rings graphic novel myself, so I didn't know. So I will have to look into those.
I haven't looked into if there's graphic novel adaptation. I'm sure there probably is.
Yeah.
How good it is, though, well, TBD. But I should try that. And sometimes there are readers who have a harder time like visualizing just based off of text descriptions, and so the graphic novels really help them be more absorbed in the story. Yeah. And I do consider reading graphic novels as reading books. Like, even though it's not word heavy, there can be a lot of detail that the reader can glean. And if you want to go by page count, like, there are chunky graphic novels. Like Watchmen, Blankets, Androids. Yeah. So anyway.
I would have also said because they also require often interpretation and understanding, like Ashman was who said before that graphic novels leave a lot of room for interpretation. I think you can also invest a lot of time in that, and also so they are quick to read and eye candy. What is better?
Yeah, I'm with you. I've been getting into it a little bit just because, like you said, some pages can be really detailed, and I feel like this is an opportunity for people. They don't have to, I'm not going to say skim the book, but you can take as much information out of the picture as you like. If you want to spend like 3 minutes and really analyze a full page panel that they put on the paper, you could do that. Or you could take 20 seconds to be like, I read it, I understand what's going on, I'm moving on. And you go to the next page. So you can take your time with it, or you can really get in depth if you really want to try and glean as much information as possible.
Yeah, and it's not just like the picture, like the drawing. It's also like the coloring can be really helpful and immersive as well.
The speech bubbles, even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speech bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the lack of color, even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we've said a lot of praises about graphic novels. Are there any cons you wish to discuss about reading graphic novels?
Me, I got one.
Okay.
All right. So I am actually a very visual person. And so when I'm reading books, I don't mind too much as long as I don't go too overboard with the food like George Martin and things like that. I do enjoy when they describe a scene because then I can put it in my brain a little bit better. The con to that is that when I'm reading a book, I can do it in my style. And sometimes when I'm reading a graphic novel, I get put down. So like I tried to read Sandman and I was kind of liking the story, but I did not like the art style. So I chose not to continue. And it's not because of the story, it was just I don't like that art style. So I would rather have read a text version of the book, and I just decided to move on and to try something else. So I think
That's fair.
is one con, that if you're someone who really prefers your own style of artwork, there are hurdles to come across if there's certain authors that like to do their own style, and maybe it's a little out there sometimes.
Ash, did you have anything to add?
Yeah. Maybe it's because I haven't read enough or the right people for it, but I also find that action in graphic novels is a lot harder to get right, and to make it's a lot harder to make an exciting action scene in a graphic novel versus I think either a book or just like a movie or a TV show.
Interesting.
And I couldn't tell you exactly why that was. But yeah, like I've never seen it done like in a way that like actually wowed me, like I've been wowed with other forms of media. And another problem is just like cost. Graphic novels cost more because they have more people working on them, and they're also printed in a lot of times on higher quality paper with full color. So like there's a trade-off there, right? Yes. Go to your library and ask your librarian for them.
It is true. Yeah.
I think the action one is an interesting one because on the one hand, like you're being shown action, but on the other hand, because of because it's not an animation, they have to select very specific scenes to show you, and so you kind of as a reader have to like put it together, like what is this action, and still visualize it in your head. So I get that con. I think there are definitely artists who do a better job with action. I'm interested to see like if you've ever read Monstrous.
That's been put on my list by Starkast, actually.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you think of the visualization in Monstrous. And I think part of it is also it's like the images are in front of you, but at the same time, you still have to use your imagination to put it together.
Well, I'll say this for animating, they use a lot of exaggerated poses because in real life, if you have a stance or something like that, so when you're translating that into art and any medium, if you only have a couple panels to show something, you're going to do more exaggerated poses so that the reader can understand the power behind a punch or something like that. So that's just something that, your brain can, decide what goes in between those spaces that aren't shown.
And also there's it's kind of like graphic novels also have their own language, like markings to show what kind of action, like to show speed. So especially in manga, like there are additional markings that you kind of, once you read a few, you're like, I understand what this like starburst thing means.
Yeah.
Possibly my favorite and most hated technique they use is when they start punching each other and then their hands are moving too fast for you to see, so they don't even bother drawing it.
Oh man, that doesn't bother me because I'm like, this is a different medium.
When I'm reading manga, I don't mind because to me, everything is so outrageous, anyways. To me, that means they're moving faster than sight. You can't even see it's all blur, and I just like picture a blur.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was reading a more realistic graphic novel, then I would say yes. Yeah,
Mhm.
that would probably
Mhm.
bother me.
And to your point about like if the art style doesn't work for you, then the whole thing, like you may just abandon it. Like there's definitely more risk in when you're picking something up that's a graphic novel, that it won't work. At the same time, I think about like, well, there are definitely books that I've just DNF'd because the writing style, I was just like, oh my goodness, I cannot. This is
Yeah.
cringe. So it's kind of similar.
I also have a con
Yeah.
about comics specifically.
Mhm.
Uh, by comics, I mean Western graphic novels, which I have read until now. And I don't know if I just read very specific mangas where that don't happen, but comics are often their scene and POV changes are often disorienting for me because they happen often mid chapter and are not very how should I say very made clear. At least there were several cases where I had that problem. Yeah, and the other thing is I don't know why, but comics are just a little bit too quick in their pacing for me. I don't know why, just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I actually really agree with that second one because, like, obviously they're very constrained with what they can do in a specific period of time. Like, especially with superhero stories, they
Mhm.
have to like get it done in like 10 pages or something like that, which limits the amount of storytelling you can do.
Mhm.
Which can be very frustrating at times.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a change in that in the industry where there are now more longer form graphic novels. Um,
Mm,
so one of the ones that comes to mind is a lot of ones from First Second, the publisher. They do allow their creators to take more page time to develop the story. And so you get, the pacing isn't as quick. Okay, so um, there are so many types of graphic novels out there now, which is really great and wonderful. What are some graphic novels that have stood out to you and why? Like, what's special or different about them? And then something to also share is like, what are important factors that you consider when you're picking out a graphic novel to read or deciding whether or not you like it? Starcast, let's start with you.
Okay, what really catch my eyes those last few months sci-fi and sci-fantasy comics.
Hmm.
Like uh, the I like the same thing that Kip talked often about, where authors put a lot of ideas in their books, and to have that extra layer of art to that is just incredible for me. And sometimes it's also hilarious. I don't know if any of you know Descenders, the
Oh, it's
comic
on my
series.
list.
Yeah. Uh, in the first chapter, so it's not a spoiler, but there are those huge robots who just look like stormtroopers, and I just had to laugh because they are the big villains so far, and it's just so funny when you see that big stormtrooper.
Nice. Ash?
Okay, so my first notable sort of graphic novel. This is when I was a kid, but it's stuck with me.
Hmm.
Was a picture Bible that I had, which
Oh,
was
yeah?
it was like the entire thing.
Uh-huh.
Good illustrations. It did tell the stories. I really liked it. I read it like quite a few times.
Nice.
Which it like probably primed me to like graphic novels later on in life, even though I initially had disliked the concept. Nowadays, what I look for in my graphic novels is like very moody things. like
I
Sandman.
am not surprised.
Yep. And
Like macabre or just
that and like, like very atmospheric and like dark and depressing and stuff like that. I see,
Okay.
like the ones that I really like are like Swamp Thing, Sandman, John Constantine, Hellblazer. I For the manga side, I've only read Junji Ito, but I really like Junji Ito because he does top tier horror stuff, right?
Mhm.
That's
I
what I
have
like.
not read him.
You would
I haven't
probably
either.
hate it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
probably would.
An anti-recommendation from Ash. Okay.
I give her lots of those. Yeah, I since I don't think they do action as well, I don't look for action. I look for like character focused,
Mhm.
small scale stuff essentially, and I think
Mhm.
that's where they really, really excel in my mind.
Nice. Soul?
So since I'm more of the newbie here, I haven't actually read too much of graphic novels. I've tried a couple of them and fell off. I will give a manga recommendation. I like Boku no Hero Academia or My Hero Academia.
Mm.
It's been put in on animation now, so it's as an anime show. I like that it has story and it also has action. So those are my main two things. I'm really looking for story elements that are really tying in together and animation. I really like the scenes that he does, those action scenes, really cool. He was influenced by a lot of superhero comics as a kid, so he throws a lot of covers. He'll do Batman and Superman, Batman and
Oh,
Spider-Man. I apologize. Covers, and he'll stylize them to his artwork from
nice.
his current series. So he'll do old iconic covers that we might have seen, just like that are idolized in history of comic books and stuff, and it'll
Mhm.
be thrown into My Hero Academia. And the guy's really good. I really like his stuff. I think he does want to even wrap it up. So I hope it's not even going to be one of those things where, oh, it went on too long and the story got weird. He's trying to wrap it up soon. And so far, it's definitely my favorite manga of all time. So I'll say that.
I've only seen the anime, so I'm a pleb here, but it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Hmm.
I'm not up to date to it, but I have I think read the first few arcs, and it's good. And what I remembered before, as Ash talked about his fable. How did you
Fables?
say
Fable.
fable?
Yeah,
Mm.
that is like a very iconic graphic novel series that has multiple theories.
So
Hmm.
okay, I understood feeble, and that how do I say that triggered a memory from mine because it was also the first book I ever read, and it's more of a picture book, but how should I say it? It really pushed me to reading, so really because
Oh, are you talking about Aesop's Fables?
no.
No.
It
Okay.
was a German learning to read book,
Oh, okay.
and
Okay.
Sorry.
and it
I was
had,
thinking of something else. Okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
and it had a continuous story,
Mhm.
and uh, the end the end is I I talked about it before on Discord. I still cannot believe it that they went with Lovecraftian horror ending. Let me talk to um and because it ended in a way the two main characters did their adventures one time in uh, back in time to the dinosaurs, another time to the Middle Ages, and so on. And at the very end, when the letters X, Y, Z, and all the others came, uh, they were in a black hallway, and they got to a big room, and there were all the pictures of their adventures, and I did not know who painted them. And that then there was the one huge picture in front of them where just a swirl was of a color, and they just got through it and then end.
That sounds like a very German ending to me.
I don't think I will ever read it. So I guess thank you for telling me about it.
I
Yeah,
don't
it does sound
think I
pretty
would
cool.
enjoy it. No, because it was for school, the book, and yeah,
Okay.
very early. How should I say? It's not anymore, but German reading books and also German English learning books had continuous stories back in the day,
Mm.
and characters which came back more also every time, but
Mhm.
that isn't as much anymore as far as I know.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. The German learning to read English expanded universe.
We'll throw the Bible one that Ash read in there too. We'll just encompass everybody. We can.
Yeah. Actually, that sort of reminds me of what I think is an excellent series that is free on Reddit, the Bikini Bottom Horror, which is SpongeBob
Oh gosh.
with a Lovecraftian twist. Essentially, Patrick starts off the series by revealing to SpongeBob how sea stars eat their prey,
Oh
and he
my!
eats them. Yeah, and there are lots of Patricks everywhere because sea stars regenerate, and there's a Chad Squidward, and
Oh goodness.
I'm in.
oh man,
No,
it's
you
a
already had me. Now I'm really in.
it's
Okay.
a wild ride. Like I
All right.
highly recommend
Okay.
it. It
Provide
probably
the
would take you
link.
like an hour to get through.
Provide me the link. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I don't want to
Excellent.
know anymore. I want to go in blind as much as I can after the rest. That's it. I'm going
Yeah.
into it. Okay. Cool.
Okay, so I do have a list of like notable graphic novels. These are usually more modern. No superhero ones on here. Not that I don't enjoy them, just we're talking about something a little different. There is actually one that kind of breaks the definitions we've set out beforehand about what a graphic novel is because there are no words. But it's also not considered a picture book, I don't think, because it has the paneling format. It's called Arrival by Shaun Tan, and it's very touching, very impactful. I actually asked a friend, which we'll call her Tinkerbell, for recommendations because she reads a lot of comics and graphic novels, and she also recommended this one. She says it's a fantasy world and there is no text, but it communicates everything perfectly. It's in a heartbreaking parting, a man gives his wife and daughter a last kiss and boards a steamship to cross the ocean. He's embarking on the most painful yet important journey of his life. He's leaving home to build a better future for his family. And bonus, Patrick Rothfuss loved it. So if you're a Patrick Rothfuss fan, go check it out. I've already talked about Saga before by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. It's very adult. So if you're going to read it, please know that. It is very graphic. But the art is really amazing. And the characters, I just really adore them. I think in recent years, Saga has helped make graphic novels more popular in like the reading snob sphere, I guess. And they've been on hiatus for a while, but new issues are coming out in January 2022. I'm very excited. There is also the Tea Dragon Society by Kay O'Neill. So if you just want something very cute, very heartwarming, check it out. It's a whole series now, and it's got all sorts of different representation in there, and the tea dragons are adorable. Like if you should just Google tea dragons and you'll see what I mean. And lastly, like Monstrous, we've already talked about that a little bit, but it is it's dark for sure.
Yes.
And not just in like the content, like the story, but also like the art. But it is so good. I've only read the first volume and I don't know why I haven't continued with the second and third and but yeah, I'm
I
hooked
have
from the first one.
I have read the first 4 ones, and it's
Yeah.
so good. And 2 things.
Yeah.
First, my plan is to bring it on the podcast.
Okay.
And second, I think there are more queer relationships than hetero relationships in the comic. I
Yeah.
only know one hetero relationship, and all the others are queer.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a trend that we've also been seeing more of. I actually think in graphic novels, like non-hetero relationships have been there for a while, and I guess it's just been more accepted because it's seen as art or something.
Yeah.
But it's become more mainstream now. So
That actually reminds me, like Sandman had a trans woman in it, like very early on, and that was decades ago, like I think in the 80s or something like that.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also have some recommendations.
yeah, actually, this is a good segue
Hit
to
us.
just move into other recommendations, but also if any in particular are good for people who are new to reading graphic novels.
So, okay, my first one, because I have to get it out, because maybe I will regret it later. But To Your Eternity by Yoshitoka Oima, the mangaka of A Silent Voice. I think most of the Discord people know how I feel about Robin Hobb.
Uh-huh.
If not, I say I still haven't forgotten her for Assassin's Apprentice. So for all the Robin Hobb fans, I recommend you this series. Yes, because pain. I would reiterate it for all of you searching for the next book, or in this case manga, to give you a mental breakdown crying. This is it. And the best thing, it already starts in chapter 1, and it doesn't stop from there.
Sounds like it's a wreck for Ash.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
You think I would enjoy Robin Hobb, but no, I hate Robin Hobb. Although I will check out this recommendation. Like the Farseer trilogy, that I like it almost did to me what it did to Kyle. Like I almost stopped reading because of it.
Oh dear.
Thank you. Okay. I'm connecting a little bit more with Ash. I didn't expect that. Okay.
Yeah, no, oh man, I have feelings about Fitz and the rest of her characters that I have expressed and probably will express many times hence, but not now.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
I haven't gotten further than volume 2 and volume 2 only because my sister gifted it to me and I felt bad for not reading it the whole time. So now to the thing I maybe regret. But if somebody reads it with me, I will read it to the end. I think I would hate myself afterwards.
Okay.
This. But I would do it so I can see somebody feel the same pain I felt. Okay, but okay, I haven't even talked about the story. I can't say much, but it's basically about a shape-shifting godlike being sent to Earth to learn about the world.
Okay.
Yeah. So reasons to read it: phenomenal art, my pain, and great characters.
Okay. To Your Eternity.
Okay.
Huh.
Oh.
When you say things like that, Starkast, that's just all I read it to as is like you're pitching it to me. That's what I want to hear people say when they try and get me into a story. I will also accept this story has interesting ideas. I'd love Ash's opinion on them, which is what Kip said to convince me to read The Merchant Princes, which is now on my list as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So as a contrast, I have Witch Hat Atelier. It's a mostly light-hearted manga, perfect for fans who wished that Sanderson had written Harry Potter. I'm leaning right out of the window, so lower your expectations. It's good, but lower it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, what is the name of the manga or series?
Witch Hat Atelier. It's so good, but I don't want to be like, oh my god, it's so good, and then somebody's disappointed because they're too high of expectations.
Hey,
So I try to lower it now.
you
Lower it.
gotta own it. It's okay. I pitched Cradle to everybody in the server, and it got beat up. Okay, I got called out for a lot of stuff. Now I'm not gonna regret it. I do regret maybe pitching it a little that strongly, but I did tell everybody before they read it, it's not for everyone. You got to know what you're getting into.
Mhm.
That's okay. So I say, if you love it, you can say you love it. Don't worry about it. Everybody likes things. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you did find other Cradle fans too.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
there were a few people who really liked it,
Mhm.
and I knew that I would never touch it.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Sarah.
definitely not an
Yeah.
Ash book.
Yeah.
Definitely not. No.
Yeah.
Soulution, Ash, do you guys have other recommendations for people who are starting graphic novels?
I got one. Okay.
Okay.
This story has interesting ideas, and I would love Ash's opinion on it.
Mm.
It's actually called 6 Billion Demons.
Okay.
And have you heard of this one, Ash, before?
No.
Okay. So the art style is a little weird, but it's very unique. It's very cool, and the world building is incredible. Okay. And it's based on a lot of mythology, and they're like demons from this. He draws a lot of inspiration from demons from mythology, I guess is what you would say. And it's about this girl whose boyfriend, I don't even remember really what happens because I got to keep reading and it didn't really feel that relevant. She's basically searching for her boyfriend, and she basically just wakes up in this demon realm of all
Interesting.
creation. So I'll give that a recommendation. And
Kill
that's
6
about all I got.
billion demons, breaker of infinities.
Yes, I think it's Kill 6. Is it Kill 6 Billion Demons? I knew 6 Billion Demons was in the title.
Okay, dang.
So definitely an
That's
interesting
Nice.
one if you want something that's got action and it's got story. It's a very unique art and it looks cool.
that is such a like in your face name for
Yeah.
a story.
Yeah, it catches you. If you want
Yeah.
demons and 6 billion of them, it's got it.
The art is really cool.
Yeah, the demon art and the angels and like the gods that he makes and their
Mhm.
ideas is where he really excels at the art
Okay.
style.
I will add, I love angels.
Oh, you might like. All right, so this actually is a good recommendation for you. I
Yeah.
want to see your thoughts then.
Like, okay, like okay, I like dragons, but my top 3 fantasy things, maybe, okay, top 4 fantasy things, like elves, angels, devils, vampires. Like, if your story has any of those, I'm like immediately at least a 6 out of 10 interested in it.
Yeah, these have angels as gods. It takes a lot of that mythology and uses it for art. It's cool.
Excellent.
All right. Ash, did you have any recommendations to add?
Not that. Oh, I should. Okay, I should talk about why I think Sandman, Swamp Thing, and John Constantine are good.
Okay.
Probably okay. Start out with Swamp Thing. It was very unique at the time. Basically, Swamp Thing is a DC hero in their multiverse, but the author, what's his face? The guy who did Watchmen. I feel like I'm going to get crucified for not remembering, but yeah, the author did
That's
some
Alan
really
Moore.
yeah, Alan
right?
Moore. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Alan Moore. He did some really interesting things with the character writing, and it's not a superhero story basically at all. Once he gets like really into it, it's like a deep introspection on nature and life and what it means to be human and death and all those great subjects. And then basically Neil Gaiman came along for Sandman, and he said, like, I really like where that is, and then he expanded upon it. And Sandman like has it's probably the most critically acclaimed graphic novel series of all time. I think I'm pretty confident in making that assumption. It follows Morpheus, the literal incarnation of Dream, and his struggles with like, okay, it's very much a story about storytelling and grief, and one of the main characters is Death as well. She shows up. It's very high concept in a lot of ways, and it deals with like big ideas in a very exaggerated way, like fantasy does so well a lot of the time. And John Constantine Hellblazer, John Constantine, another DC hero. There was like a string of these things going on at the time. He's a wizard. It was haunted by people that have died because of him, or that he has killed directly. And he basically goes around and he roots out demons and demonic possessions and stuff like that. And I haven't gone as far into that one yet, but the first story has like really stuck with me, and it is very it's a hard read, but it's also excellent. So if you find your tastes aligning with mine in that you like oppressive, dark stories, check those ones out, and you might have a not fun but fulfilling time.
So I have started Sandman. I started Volume 1, Preludes and Nocturnes. So
excellent.
I have started that journey.
The first arc is, in my opinion, a lot weaker than the next ones, because it's also the most superhero-y. Basically, it starts with him collecting like items of power and like getting them back. And there are more overt references to the other, like the larger DC universe. For example, one of the comics in that arc literally starts in Arkham Asylum with one of the convicts there. But later on, he like breaks away and he gets into a lot of really interesting stories. Like he gets into there's a story about cats and their secret schemes. And he does a sort of side arc on William Shakespeare. And okay. If you want me to sell Sandman to you, instead let me refer you to Nerdwriter, who is a video essayist on YouTube. He does a video on the William Shakespeare arcs, and it's excellent. And it's what made me pick up Sandman myself.
Okay,
like top tier stuff right there.
Awesome. That's a good recommendation. It's definitely something that's been on my list for a while, but also intimidating just because like of how many volumes, and like there's like series within series, or like following sequel series or whatever. So, but I'm on the journey now.
Yeah, I have the 2 big books of the issues, and that's all of them. I do think a lot of the arcs manage to stand on their own, though. So, like, you could literally just stop it at the end of one of them and it'd be fine forever, I would think.
Gotcha. Awesome. So other recommendations. I've just got a list here that I'll quickly run through. The first one is really just the publishing house for a second. I think if you're new to graphic novels and you're more like on the I like contemporary stories side, maybe with a little bit of magical or fantastical elements, I think their stuff is pretty good to start with. They also are the ones who publish the Adventure Zone, which is the graphic novelization of the D&D games that was it McElroy?
McElroy.
Yeah, the McElroys. Yeah. Don't disrespect the McElroy brothers.
I can highly recommend the Adventure Zone first season.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I cannot really recommend the later ones, but the first one's really, really good.
Or just read the graphic novels and then not have to listen to hours and hours and hours of whatever gameplay.
It's actually not too long, I'll say that, for the recording part. But
that's true.
I have read the first volume for the graphic novel, which is I think the first campaign, which is good. It's a good graphic novel, and it's definitely fun. I like the artwork. They take a unique twist with the DM and fourth wall breaking, so it's very nice. So I'll recommend that as well.
And there's a character named Barry Blue Jeans, which, like, how can you not love that?
Yeah, but I want Griffin's voice to do Barry Blue Jeans.
His lovely nasally voice.
Yeah.
And another one that I really enjoyed is called The Prince and the Dressmaker. And I'm not going to say too much about it, but it's just a very lovely story.
That 100% sounds like a story you would like.
There's another
lovely.
one. Sorry?
It's a lovely. I have
It
read.
is. See?
Yeah,
Sarcasm.
Okay, see?
I've read it.
There's another one. It's actually a duology called Check Please, and it features a main character who is gay, who loves to bake, who is a YouTuber, and a hockey player. Very interesting combination of things.
Well,
and
okay.
he's a
If you've
college
ever
student.
been in a hockey changing room, like it does get quite homosexual in those. I'm not very
It's not.
surprised.
Yes, but it's also, well, I would just say just read it. It actually is really interesting because it started off as a webcomic. It is a webcomic, but it started off as a master's thesis project by the author, and then it turned into what it is now. I would say I really enjoyed the first one. The second one was a bit too sweet for my taste, but hey, maybe you'll enjoy it. And then two author artists that I will recommend is one is Lucy Nisley, Knisley, and she has quite a few that are about food and eating. So one of them is called Relish, another one is called French Milk, and dude, I wish I had her talent for art and cooking. Yeah, it makes me hungry all the time. And the other one is Ben Hatke. I'm probably pronouncing his last name wrong. Hatke. His art is very much my style. It is very cozy, very cute, and he tends to create for younger audiences. But as an adult, I still enjoy them. So check him out. Check out his Instagram because his art is just lovely. Yeah. So, manga wise, I love Fruits Basket. I know that is an OG classic, but
It is.
I love it.
It's a very cold take.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I actually read a couple volumes, and I need to continue with the series, but Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll second that. Please read it.
Yeah, they have been releasing a newer edition that's like hardcover for the volumes, so I'm slowly collecting them. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. I'll ask a question.
Okay.
Again, I've only seen the anime.
Which one?
Brotherhood.
Okay, you saw. I mean, they're both good, but Brotherhood's better.
Is it still worth it to read the manga then?
I think so.
See,
go ahead.
I read the I watched the original series as a kid, and then I read the manga, and then I watched Brotherhood when that came out. So I haven't read the manga in a long time, but if you've watched Brotherhood, they did a pretty good adaptation of it. I prefer the anime style. If I'm in the mood for anime, so usually I don't reread a manga. So I wouldn't say you have to, but if you've already watched Brotherhood, it's just as good. Okay. It's just like that. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, I mean, if you really like Full Metal Alchemist, why not just read it too?
And then watch it again.
Yeah.
I'll second one more manga besides My Hero Academia. I'll second Hunter x Hunter if you've never read it. Now, I'll preface this by saying the author is someone who does not have great health and continually pauses and has the moniker hiatus x hiatus is the joke for the series name. Now, what has already been written, I think it's already at over 300 chapters. Still very good.
Okay.
Still fantastic. So just don't go in expecting a completed series because I just want to preface that. But it is still fantastic and still definitely worth your time if you're looking for a shonen that's probably top tier, I would say. As far as storytelling and world building with a magic system that's definitely unique.
Nice. All right. Anything else people would like to add before we close out this episode?
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
You got.
So I have two things. For one, I think Panda could even like it. And it's a Heartstopper. I don't know if you have read it.
I haven't yet. I've seen it everywhere for a while, but I haven't picked it up yet.
It's sweet, but with a dark undertone. But it's sweet, more sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a queer love story about two boys falling in love. Yeah, but there are two content warnings I just want to give out. And one is eating disorder. One of the main characters has it, and it's getting important in the later chapters. And the other thing is that in the beginning is a near sexual assault experience. It doesn't happen, but it's how should I say? But it's but it's close. So
Got
those
it.
two things.
Thank you.
Okay, I just linked the Bikini Bottom horror. I would like at least Soulution. I would like you to read the first page and tell me what you think.
Okay.
Right now.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
the
I'm
live
already-
reactions are all
Yeah.
the rage.
Already halfway done. So I have just the first two panels. We already have a terrified sponge and a horrific. Oh gosh. Oh no.
I don't know if I want to look at this.
Yeah. So definitely not for everybody, but I'm into it, and I kind of want to see where it goes from here.
Boy.
I will add the artist. You can see that he gets much better at drawing as he goes through these series.
This was his practice, drawing
Yeah.
SpongeBob and Patrick and a death scene, if I may say, for the first page. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I mean-
really exploded on Reddit and specifically r/I'm sorry, John, the Garfield themed horror subreddit.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Reddit's good for exploding a lot of things.
Oh
A lot
my
of
goodness. All right.
Well, I'll be into it. I'm gonna definitely check that out. And then also, Panda
Excellent.
got me a food. So, all right, I have a SpongeBob horror recommendation, and I have a food recommendation from Panda. So I'm just gonna say that these are two things that I really didn't expect to come out of when I came into this recording. I thought I'd be more like, oh, you should definitely try and read Saga, or you should try give Sandman another shot. So yeah, thank you for
Nice.
that. Definitely interesting, unique.
Awesome. Well, with that, I will close us out. So this concludes this episode. Did we convince you to give graphic novels a try? Hope so. Join the Legendarium's Discord and let us know. The invite link is on thelegendarium.com. We are also on Twitter at Green Team Pod. Thanks to Craig, Ryan, and the Legendarium crew for letting us share a piece of their media platform. Thank you to our panelists, Ashaman, Soulution, Starkast. I'm Befuddled Panda. Until next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Adios.